Chapter 6 in the Biology of Emotions series. Observe how interactions in society occur. Mark transition points on your mental calendar. As we journey through life, we are met with various transition points or life transitions. Life transitions are changes in growth, development, and maturity accompanied by changes in needs and realignment of previous relationships. Some people call these psychological tasks. Others call them times of renegotiation. Yet others say realignment. Realignment is to change how the interaction between two people occurs, often to fill newly expressed needs. The point is that there are stops along the pathway of growth and development. The stops or transition points along the path of growth that are good are good to recognize. There's just one problem. There is always a time delay in recognizing them. I call this recognition delay slow switching. This means that your needs will change, but there is a time delay before your mind recognizes those changes. There is an even longer time delay before other people in your life recognize the changes. In all, if the change is happening in you, you may notice it quickly, but still experience a time delay. This means that the people we depend on in relationships may clue into our needs frustratingly late. This delay can be painful, but the sooner we recognize it, the sooner we can continue to navigate relationships. When we enter transition points, we naturally align our relationships. Or you could say renegotiate how we interact with other people. This renegotiation is not like business negotiations. It simply refers to how we relate to people. Maybe the way we talk to them changes, or we do different activities, or we develop new boundaries and opportunities. Some changes are superficial, and others are more personal. The main idea is that our needs change. We naturally strive to get them met from new types of interactions with the people around us. I'm live, so it can't be interrupted. Okay? Here is a general timeline of the potential life transitions where we realign relationships. Yes, I'm going live here. Okay, we'll find it soon, okay? We're working as fast as we can, okay? Here's a general timeline of the potential life transitions where we realign relationships. Birth, childhood, siblings, teen years, young adult, leaving home, adult, marriage, forming a home, baby, in-law relations, grandparent relations, parents of children, parents of teens, parents of young adults, parents of adults, becoming in-laws, and becoming grandparents. Transition points. During major life transitions, we realign relationships that we have formed with our parents, siblings, friends, teachers, coworkers, significant others, children, and adult children. Relationships often get strained when one or both people get caught off guard by life transitions. But in all the transitions, deep emotional connections can be made. Work with the internalizer-externalizer duality. In every single relationship, there is a person who tends to be more internalizing and one who tends to be more externalizing. Internalizing is to assign a role, responsibility, task, or label to yourself, usually by default, while externalizing is to assign a role, responsibility, task, or label to someone else, usually by default. The internalizer-externalizer duality in relationships can lead to tensions. When people learn about internalizing and externalizing, they often label one as good or bad, rather than having an emotional engagement that works smoothly. But the reality is that both have advantages and disadvantages. Neither internalizing nor externalizing is good or bad. It is simply something that happens in every relationship. It is something that we must be aware of to find the most beneficial interactions for ourselves and our loved ones. As you talk with family and friends throughout life, you may get caught off guard by the internalizer-externalizer duality. But if you listen to the plethora of statements about close relationships, the internalizer-externalizer duality becomes quite clear. Yet many people don't even know it exists. Once again, we have the fish in the water problem. Every single close relationship has this duality. It goes unnoticed like water may go unnoticed to a fish. Let us examine common phrases to discover this duality. He, she is so lazy. He, she needs to carry their weight. They need to do their part versus they don't appreciate all that I do. I gave so much and they don't even notice. When will he, she take me into account? Okay, you can close the door a little bit. In all relationships, one person tends to take more of the responsibility for a given task than the other. This makes sense because what is the probability that two people would, by random chance, take on exactly 50% of the responsibility for an interaction? It is almost impossible. In reality, one person takes the majority of the load and the other takes the minority. People want things balanced, but perfect balance of so many moving parts is quite unlikely. We are not talking about mundane tasks like office paperwork. I'm talking about knitting emotional closeness. The close bonds that fit with all relationships, such as friendships, romantic, child parent, and others. Now, if you add up all the interactions that two people in a relationship have, what are the chances that all of the responsibilities are shared exactly 50%? The chance is nil, zippo, zero. As a visual example of this dynamic, you can look at solar systems. Did you know that solar systems are flat? This is because all the particles interact. There is basically no chance that the momentum of all particles is balanced 1-to-1, 50-50. There is always a major direction of momentum and a minor direction of momentum. This difference is what determines the flat plane of the solar system. Of course, our relationships are not solar systems. This simply illustrates the idea that the probability of all interactions being exactly balanced 1-to-1 is basically nil. The key is to recognize that this duality appears in all relationships and learn how to navigate it. It becomes a game of roles. A role is the function taken or a part played by a person in a particular situation. No person is an island and no two people are the same, so there is constant refining of roles. The good news is that clarifying roles can be rewarding and fun. Internalizer-externalizer worksheet. For a given situation involving two or more people, there is always an internalizer and externalizer. The differences may be slight or quite large. These determine the roles in situations that each person plays. This worksheet helps you become aware of the internalizer-externalizer dynamic of your current situation. With it, both of you can decide on appropriate roles. The key is to set a reassessment date. Roles are not static and situations change, so reassessment is crucial. If people keep the same role without reassessment, it is only a matter of time until some sort of tension arises. The worksheet is designed to be repeated on an ongoing basis. You have a printable PDF download link in Appendix 4. Situation. Topic, blank. Write your topic. Person A. Sensation is, and you write your sensation. Emotion, blank. Write your emotion. Need, blank. Write your need. And your roles for person A. Roll 1, roll 2, and roll 3. Person B. Sensation, blank. Emotion, blank. Need, blank. And roles 1, 2, and 3. Reassessment. On what date will you reassess your sensations, emotions, needs, and roles? Soothe your role self and nurture your authentic self. As we navigate relationships, we often take on a role self and put our authentic self on the shelf. While this is normal, it is critical to be able to know and nurture our authentic selves. Our authentic self gives a sense of being that aligns with our identity, as opposed to appeasing messages from another person or society. A role self plays out actions in the manner of being that satisfies messages from another person or society and may not align with our identity. Difficulties of social hurdles can push us to play our role self more and more. This is a huge challenge that leads many people to behave in ways that ignore their authentic self. Just being aware that we have a role self and authentic self can help us answer two vital questions. How does this benefit my authentic self? And when do I play my role self? Most people are completely unaware that they even have a role self. It is important to assess elements and behaviors of your role self and authentic self. Here are some situations where people play their role selves. Situations when people take on their role self. Family with parents and siblings. School with teachers and classmates. Church or temple with leadership and friends. Work with managers, colleagues, customers, and service providers. Society with friends and strangers. Role self and authentic self. We often take on a role self when interacting with certain groups of people. Many children are stunned when they see their parents acting differently than they do at home. Likewise, parents get shocked seeing how their children behave at school. Visits from in-laws reveal this too, as a spouse usually behaves differently when their family visits. They regress to the role self that they grew up as. Recognize the power of a third party. A third party is a powerful way to start effective communication. A third party is a person besides the two people primarily involved in a situation, such as a therapist. If you think about it, navigating society is like sifting sand looking for gold dust. We may pick up gems of wisdom, but they are blocked by social hurdles. Finding ways to have effective communication amidst so many barriers is very rewarding. A third party is a great way to make this happen. For some reason, humans respond favorably to a third party. The same goes for deep conversations. When there is a third party, such as a trained therapist, people often open up more than if it is just a one-on-one conversation. Additionally, a trained therapist may introduce new empowering ways for the communication to be beneficial. As we journey through life, we rely on third parties. The third party is something or someone outside of us. Small talk starts about something outside of us, like the weather, and then can move to more personal matters. Play starts with toys and can move to becoming close friends with deep conversations. In some situations, in order to have a relationship with another person, a third party like a therapist becomes invaluable. Also, our relationship with ourselves can benefit greatly from a therapist as a third party. How to use this information. When you run into difficulties or joys in relationships that depend on transition points, the internalizer-externalizer dynamic, or the role self and authentic self duality, use the guided worksheets at the back of this book. They will help you evaluate your current situation and brainstorm boundaries and opportunities. See you in the next chapter.